attention economy. And this comes from somebody called Herbert Simon from the 1980s. And basically, whilst we can have lots and lots of information, limitless information, what we can't have is limitless time. And there are only 24 hours within the day. And so what becomes important is not the information itself, but the people that gain the attention of users out there and can mediate this information and help narrow down so they can get the information that they want. And within that role, I think technical authors have an important role in getting to that information that is relevant to people at the right time. But I think it also affects the mechanism by which information is delivered as well. So if we have to fight for people's attention and provide that information at the right time in the right place, then we're looking at different ways in which that information can be delivered. And it comes back to things like embedded information, embedded user assistance. So on the right here we have online help within an airline website that actually provides very succinct online help or assistance for booking of flights to go somewhere. And so one of the things I think we're going to see is areas where their authority is respected and people go to mediate and get to the information they want, but also the development of what you might call ambient information as well, that's sort of embedded or there as people are going along, provides the information and support that they need. And another area that I think in terms of impact and effect that's going to come through within user documentation is the need to fit into what you might call the ecosystem. Now within, what do I mean by ecosystem? Let's take the idea of Apple with the iPhone and with the iPod as well. And what Apple have done is they've introduced a hardware product. They've introduced software, which for the iPod is iTunes, and they've managed to encourage a whole series of third-party developers that have introduced lots and lots of peripherals and add-ons like wallets for carrying your iPod around. Now, each of those elements adds value, and each of those elements links closely with each other to make it a tightly integrated system where everything is value added, so that if you go, because it's so easy to add music to the iPod from iTunes, it means that you're more likely to buy an iPod than any other device. Because iTunes is so closely embedded with iPod and has so much content, you're more likely to go to iTunes to buy your music. And this is the same thing that needs to happen within user documentation as well. We need to find this virtuous circle whereby where we're adding information is leading people to gain customer loyalty and want to stay with a product or buy with a product more than they have done in the past. And a good example of that, and I've provided a link at the end of this presentation, is to see this concept with the adverts that Apple have done in the UK and States. Advertise not really their phone, but also the applications that work with it. There's an app for that advertisements. So this is really going to lead to information being delivered in lots and lots of different ways, in lots of different approaches. Now, at the moment, the question is, well, where is that going to be? How is it going to be delivered? In many ways, that's going to be unique to each particular environment. And what's going to be important is that this user assistance, all that content over and above the marketing content, is going to need to be delivered in some form. And it's going to be important for technical communicators to do usability testing and to do measurements to determine for themselves and for their users the best way to deliver the information that their customers need. We'll come back to this slide a little bit later because of the implications of what this means. So although it's unknown in many ways what content is going to be needed for each particular situation, that mix and getting that right, I think there are some technologies that are coming through which will impact on how content is delivered. And so in this section, there are 3 examples of technologies which I think are going to have a big impact on the world of technical communication. And they're all about providing content in the right context. So let's look at these 3: augmented reality, Pico projectors, and Google Wave. So, augmented reality. What augmented reality is it's the ability to add a layer onto the things in which people see, so they can provide additional information. Now, what I don't mean is this idea that we're all going to go round with wonderful spectacles and see the world in this way. Although, actually, these glasses were announced today, and there are organisations purporting that this is the way we'll be, I think from their text, unobtrusively sitting in meetings with sort of head-up display. I don't think it's going to be that sort of environment. What I think it's more likely to be is that we see things through technology that we're more familiar with today, and that is through mobile phones, cell phones as they're called in the States. And again, I provided a link at the end of this presentation to a video that's available again on YouTube of how augmented reality can work. And today's, there's a website called boingboing.net, and on the gadgets section of that, they've actually got a number of other examples of augmented reality videos that they're talking about today. This is one that was issued about 6 months ago in Japan. And the way in which it works is that you're taking, and this is standards being developed by Nokia at the moment, you take the character recognition or image recognition capabilities of the processors within phones. You take GPS capabilities within phones as well, and data, and you layer them all through, and the phone's camera as well, to provide an augmented reality. So if you go into a shopping mall, it will recognise that on the right there is a food parlour. It will recognise that there is a train station there, and what it will do is it will pop up like a post-it note of information that tells you what it is, and if you click you can drill down to more information.